All right, well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our ongoing class, Race, Whiteness, and the Church. And as you know, we've been working through this class over the last year and engaging with our goals, which are to understand more of the history of race and the experience of being Black in America, to discuss the concept of institutional racism together, to understand more about how the sin of racism has impacted the health and unity and witness of the church, and to explore how we as a community at Grace Seattle can become a healing presence in the midst of these conversations. I want to take a moment before we jump in and begin and just acknowledge before you all that in the intervening time since our last class, we have heard the historic and symbolic verdict for Derek Chauvin, who killed George Floyd. And we just want to celebrate that together as a people, that at least in this instance, justice has been done. And we pray and hope that that is a down payment for justice to continue to roll down. I'm really excited about this conversation today. The folks that have gathered here as a panel are those who have partnered with us at Grace through our Serving the City program to provide food for unsheltered people in our city. And what we hope to do today is listen to some stories, have a conversation, and learn from some BIPOC business owners in our community to build relationship, to learn more about our city, and to continue to grow in our efforts as a church to learn to serve the common good. So today it'll be a panel format. We'll have some questions and discussion with our panelists, and then some time for questions from you at the end of the hour. And without further ado, I turn it over to Jason. He's going to make introductions this morning.
Thanks, Drew. Yeah, one of the things I want to emphasize is, in addition to the dynamic of race that we've been talking about through this class throughout the year, is the importance of grounding yourself in a community. And what Drew just said about the common good is so important. We're not doing and living out our spirituality if we're not loving our neighbors, and if we're only staying with people who agree with us or come from the same worldview as us. So I think part of our discussion of race has to intertwine with neighborhood and with race and being faithful where God has planted you. So I thought about Psalm 122. I always love this psalm, so I'm going to read it very briefly and then introduce our guests. Psalm 122 says, "I was glad when they said to me, 'Let us go to the house of the Lord.' Our feet have been standing within your gates, O Jerusalem. Jerusalem, built as a city that is bound together, to which the tribes go up, the tribes of the Lord, as was decreed for Israel to give thanks to the name of the Lord. There thrones for judgment were set, the thrones of the house of David." And then here's the thing I want to highlight, verse 6. "Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May they be secure who love you. Peace be within your walls and security with your towers. For my brothers and companions' sake, I will say, peace be within you. For the sake of the house of the Lord our God, I will seek your good." So verse 6 through 9 talk about blessing the city for the sake of our brothers and sisters in the community, blessing and offering peace to the city. So the posture of the Christian is to be one that doesn't curse the city or curse your neighbors, but has a posture of blessing. And we have certainly blessed by our guests coming and who are here this morning. And as Christians, as a congregation, our goal is not to complain about traffic, complain about our leaders, but to complain about our neighbors, but it's to be a blessing. So let me go ahead and jump back out to the Zoom and introduce our guests this morning. First is a dear friend of mine of several years now, Christy Brown. Christy is the owner of Communion Restaurant in the Central District. Hi, Christy.
Hi.
All right. And then dear brother, I've gotten to know over the last year in this pandemic is Theo Martin, who's the owner of Island Soul Restaurant in Columbia City. Hi, Theo.
Good morning. Good morning.
And Jeremy, would you introduce our third guest? He should be here.
The other place is Jade Garden down in the International District, and Eric Chan is the owner and runs that. So we've gotten to know him pretty well over the last year. Eric, if you're here.
Oh, you're muted, Eric.
Okay, hey, am I unmuted now?
You're good.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Hey, nice to meet y'all. Sorry, I'm at work right now, but this is a great time to tune in. Thank you. Hope you guys don't mind. My signal might be a little choppy.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, why don't we'll just have general questions and kind of do round robin, Christy, Theo, and then Eric. Just briefly, Christy, we'll start with you. Tell us just the story of communion. What's your motivation in the business? Just a little bit of history of it.
Good morning, everyone. I founded and started That Brown Girl Cooks originally back in 1996. We started off just really small and have grown over the years, different iterations. We've been That Brown Girl Catering, and now we're That Brown Girl Cooks and looking to morph into more things. About 4 years ago, a developer approached us and wanted to have conversations about what we'd like to see in the Central District along with Africatown. And from that point, we started developing the process of opening up the restaurant. We were slated to open, I don't know, there's been so many opening and closing dates, but we actually opened in December of last year. People are often ask questions like, oh, how did you open up a restaurant in the pandemic? And it just wasn't the plan. I mean, we were already in construction, had been in construction for several months before the pandemic started, and was just really just staying on track for what we were planning to do anyway. And just knew that the purpose of us opening in the restaurant in the space that we're in, we are in the Liberty Bank building, which is the first Black-owned credit union west of the Mississippi. And the building was named after that in conjunction with the relationship with Africatown. And so we just really knew that the purpose of us being there was bigger than stopping just because of the pandemic. So we just kept it pushing.
Thank you, Christy. You look very refreshed over there in the islands.
Yeah.
Theo, same question for you. Tell us the story of Island Soul, kind of what motivates you to continue to do what you do.
Island Soul actually was it started off as my parents' or my father's restaurant in the Central District off of Judkins. It just was a labor of love. My father got ill. We didn't want the restaurant to leave. I didn't want the restaurant to go away. It served the community. My father was around from the 70s with the restaurant. It was called Judkins Barbecue. From there, it went to my aunt. And from there, it went to a couple other people in the community. When my father passed away, I decided to start a restaurant. I was at Nordstrom's at the time and just got involved and fell in love. I had a cousin who had a restaurant, Casualitas, and we just started talking about how can we do something on Judkins. And he was from the islands, our parents from Jamaica. And so we had the Caribbean food going on, and my parents being from Louisiana, the soul. So we just kind of combined what we were doing, and it kept growing and growing. And that's how Island and Soul came together. And we had a chance to relocate when the Wellington was in the Columbia City. Cynthia, the young lady who owned the restaurant, was getting out, and had an opportunity to leave the central area and move further south to Columbia City, and we moved over there. Had a chance to invest in a building, buy the building, and about 16 years ago, and been there ever since. Love Columbia City. Love what we're still doing. Trying to do what my father was doing. Work with the community, serve food, see smiling faces, keep people happy. Just love it. Labor of love. It left Nordstrom's, and this has been my drive ever since. My whole family, my son, my daughter, daughters, wife, everybody's involved in the business. So it's definitely it's good. It's fun. It's a blessing.
Man, thank you, Theo. Starting with Christy and now Theo, I'm already hungry because I didn't eat breakfast this morning, so this is a problem. Eric, what about you, sir? Tell us the story of Jade Garden and kind of what motivates you.
Hey guys, so Jade Garden started back in 2003. It's a restaurant started by my dad. My parents immigrated from China over here in the early 90s. They worked in the restaurant industry, and so in 2003, my dad decided to open Jade Garden, and right in the heart of the ID International District. So we've been here for, knock on wood, for the past almost 19, 20 years now. So yeah, we just love serving the community. We've built a relationship with everybody here. We've seen generations, grandkids get old, college graduations, and that's really what motivates us to serve the community every day, because we have these relationships. And when the pandemic hit, it was obviously really hard for all businesses and especially restaurants. But we were lucky enough to have built these, great relationships with our customers over these years, and we had them support us. And, Theo was one of them too. He came by always with his friend to help us. And yeah, it was a tough time, and it's really with the people that what helps motivates us to come to work every day, because, I got this old grandma lady that I see every week, every day. She comes and gets at 8 a.m. She comes sharp at 8 a.m. She gets her breakfast. And, I like seeing her, I like seeing the community and love serving the people. That's what keeps us going, and, hopefully much longer.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah, so next question, and Pastor Jason alluded to this in the introduction, that, we're really concerned with place and what it means to kind of in an embodied way be in a particular place. And I think it's under talked about or undervalued, the impact of business in shaping the fabric of place, of our neighborhoods, especially small business. And so we just wanted to give each of you the opportunity to speak to that. How do you see your businesses shaping place, shaping our community, our neighborhoods in Seattle? And what are your hopes for the way that your business can be a positive impact for good in your community? Maybe start with Theo.
Yes, yeah. Well, let me see if I can have you rephrase that question there again. How does my restaurant impact the community?
Yeah, what's your vision for how your business can be a positive impact on the neighborhoods, the community here in Seattle?
Well, yesterday was a good example. We have been seeing more and more, just as business, new people come in. And when you always ask that question on, what brought you in? How'd you hear about us? Because a lot of people, we had a couple from Bellingham yesterday. And they just said they were, and I'm gonna say it the way how they said it. They were looking for a place of color to go eat. Say it like it is. And they got on the internet and start searching. And they came across our restaurant, drove down, made a day trip, and came into the restaurant. I happened to be there. They sat outside and probably had a good 30-minute conversation, me going back and forth, grabbing things, working. But it was kind of like what got me the most is when I asked that question and they told me what they did, traveled, 40, 50 minutes to drive down to come to our restaurant was like, really? And I was more like, and why again? And it was like, we wanted to go to a Black owned business. And when I hear that, I was like, and why? And from their heart, they felt that they don't patronize enough Black owned business. And it was kind of, I was like, well, awesome. She goes, we wanted to come try something different. And we're glad we made the drive. This is something that we want to bring more friends to. And the whole time I'm thinking, Bellingham, you drove a long way. But they said the community, the people, they loved what was going on. They felt at home. They said they used to live in Seattle. They moved out of Seattle 10 years ago because they said it was going crazy. But to come back and visit, they said they miss us. And that was a weird word. They miss being around people of color. Definitely don't hear that every day, but I feel it every day. I could tell when people come in and they got this big old smile on their face, and they see what we do, they enjoy what we do. But, we enjoy business, and we enjoy people. And to see people come in and share a little bit about something that, I know what really stepped out. It was the wife's 1-year anniversary from going through chemo. And that reason that she wanted to get out and explore is because she said she's been trapped in, going through chemo over this pandemic, and she missed being around happy people of color, and good food. So it was a reason why they traveled down to get away from where they were up in Bellingham, to get out and be around, as they say, people who enjoy life. Because she was been trapped for the last year, she felt, and she said she's just need to see people smiling and out and doing their thing. And she said she had to come to Seattle to get it. And one thing was to come to our restaurant and receive it. So that was a healing moment, to sit there and kind of go, wow, and celebrating also her 53rd birthday. So it was a good thing. But to see us in the community, and to see restaurants, and to see Christy, and see everyone, open up in this middle of this crazy time, it's good to have people come and enjoy what we do, because we have been in this community working hard, like he's all the other restaurants. I just like I said, I just enjoy that people are finding out what we do, and they're exploring more, and they're branching out to try new things. So
I love that. I love that idea of it as a healing moment for someone.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Theo. Eric, how about you? Same question. How do you see, as a business leader, your vision for your business as?
Honestly, that is a quite tough question for me to answer, because, we're in focus. In my position of Jade Garden in the International District, our future is pretty uncertain right now. Oh, sorry. Am I on mute?
No,
Okay.
Drew's connection kind of messed up. Go ahead, Eric.
Oh, sorry. To keep going from there, is just our community is, I don't know how to shape it. It's, kind of left behind in a way, just because I just don't know how to sugarcoat it any better in ways. Just, I've been here for 20 years. We worked here for 20 years. A lot of the buildings are getting knocked down, torn down. So we're just counting on the days when our restaurant's going to be knocked down. Because I don't know if you guys are aware, but 4C's generational restaurant staple in the ID got torn down about 2 or 3 days ago. What I can say from our restaurant is we don't cut corners. We do things the right way. My dad wakes up at 3 a.m. every single day, 7 days a week. I join him around 5 a.m. because, I can't do 3 a.m. shifts quite yet, but there. But, You know, it's me, my dad, my uncle, my mom, my wife, my brother, my sister, and my other uncle. You know, we're just trying to hold it down, do things the right way. We don't cut corners, and maybe, you know, lend this out, letting people know that, you know, there are still people doing things the right way, that we're still trying to hang on. And, you know, it's a tough time for restaurant business right now in the international district because of, you know, what's going on around us and all the surrounding environments because of what it is of the lack of city funding or lack of city officials intervening with certain situations. You know, we're just trying to survive and do things the right way and worry about, you know, what we do and, you know, keep serving the community on our end. That's pretty much all I have to say about that question. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Eric. It's good to hear the real word, you know. So Christy, same question to you then. As a business owner, how do you see, what's your vision for your business and its impact on community?
Thank you, Eric and Theo, for sharing. I think that we have a unique perspective, particularly because of our location. And one of the things you'll find is on the floor when you walk in, you'll see the statement, "I am home." And that has a lot of different meanings. One, like really personal for me, but then like as far as the community is concerned, we wanted to create a place where Black folks felt welcome. And that really, that statement on the ground is truly for them in its essence, not that it's not for anyone else, but it is a space where there's rare a time where you go to a restaurant and you honestly are like, people are happy to see you. Like if you showed up at a restaurant with about 5 or 6 Black people deep, the looks on people's faces that you will see when you go to a white-owned establishment, or sometimes not a white-owned establishment, is just like, okay, hold on, you know, just kind of like, not that you're not welcome, but they're just not used to it. And that's unacceptable. It really is. Like, I know when I go to Theo's, I'm gonna walk in there, I'm gonna see somebody I know, and I'm gonna feel welcome. And I wanna be in a place where I want to create a place where that's just the norm for everybody, and particularly for Black people. And so the statement, "I am a man," really stuck out with us when we were looking at branding. Sorry, my dog is trying to get down. Was a part of the branding scheme that we were looking at with the colors, and then just that statement, it was just really raw. It's like, why do you need to tell someone I am a man? Why? Because no one respects you as such, and you need to be able to say that out loud so your humanity is heard and known. And that's ridiculous that those posters were created in the 50s and the 40s, and we're still having that conversation today. Do Black Lives Matter? As far as I am concerned, it's the same kind of sentiment. Like, I'm telling you that my life matters. Why should I be having to have that conversation? So we wanted to make sure that that's what we did with the food. That was an important part of it, being able to have ingredients that folks were familiar with, but with my own take on it, which is not always a traditional take, but that's something that, you know, was really important. And it's always been important in my food, just being able to showcase, because there's a time where if you said you cook soul food, you were looked down upon, like, oh, is that what you're doing? And that was by Black folks, you know, it didn't matter. Like if you thought you were a chef, then that meant that you needed to cook something outside of your culture to validate what you were doing. And that's just, you know, thank goodness for folks that have been in the game for a long time and just kept staying true to what they knew and what they loved, that now, you know, times are turning. But I think that it just was important to make that statement. And so for us, it feels like sometimes we're just like a refuge. And it's so, and I know, Theo, I know you know what I'm talking about, right? Because it's like you go in and you like, I walk up to the restaurant and I'm like, oh, I see like multiple Black people eating, and it's like they're just feeling comfortable. They feel like, you know, there's a space where they can be seen and recognized, and that's just, it's unfortunate that you have to build that into your business plan, but you do have to do it if that's what your intention is going to be. And so we've had a wonderful reception from so many people in the community. And that's from just the history of being around and doing so much catering, being in the neighborhood, you know, previously, folks just knowing our name and stuff like that. And that's super good. And I feel like, you know, one of the things I said when we first started was, I just want a place where the homie and the millionaire can sit down together and everybody have a good time. Because I know the people that I draw, and it's a bit of both. And that's what we sought to create. And it seems like it's working.
I love that. Thank you, Christy.
Yeah, thank you, Christy. Well, we're going to keep it pushing so we have space for you all to ask us questions, or for folks from our congregation to ask us questions. So I'm going to jumble up the rotation here. I'm going to do, I'll go Eric, then Christy, and then Theo. The third question is somewhat related to what you brought up, Eric. So that's why I'm jumping to you to kind of continue on that. Let's just be real. The last year and a half has not been fun. It's been a bad year. And for businesses, I can only imagine, having been a business owner, just how difficult it is, but doing it in the midst of a pandemic and a lot of racial upheaval has been just serious. It's been real. There's no words for it. So I guess our third question is just, you know, tell us as much as you're comfortable, how has it been running your business in the midst of both, and either just the racial component that you've been seeing in your neighborhoods that Christy also just alluded to, or the financial struggles that you've had to deal with, or a mix of both? I know that that's a big question, but I'm kind of leaving it up to you to respond how you want to. But obviously, you know, what has it been like racially, financially?
Yeah, so obviously it's tough both ends. Beginning of, you know, last year, 2020, coronavirus didn't help that our previous president said, you know, China virus. So that didn't help out our sentiment, because obviously we're in the international district, a lot of Chinese restaurants here. So we're pretty hit hard financially too with that, because obviously businesses slowed down, people didn't want to come, stigma, people thought about, you know, you go down there, you might catch the virus, this and that. So all sorts of things. Besides that, there was an overwhelming support from the community. There was a lot of people that came out to support us. You know, Seattle's strong, you know. Sometimes they say, you know, this and that, but, you know, there are folks in the community that come out and support us. So we were lucky to have folks to back us up, and we blocked out all the extra noise. Financially, that's a different story. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but I'm sure my fellow restaurant owners know everything doubled in price pretty much when it comes to supplies, to as simple as to-go boxes. I had to fight for to-go boxes because obviously last year it was all to-go, takeout. So I had to ask my suppliers to order me double these takeout boxes, and they couldn't get it to me fast enough. So I was, you know, scrambling, running around, looking for to-go boxes and to-go containers, sauce packets, little containers for, you know, soy sauce and hot sauce. You know, those were hard to find. There was a time where it was hard to find yeast. You couldn't find yeast. You had to go Restaurant Depot, and everything just, you know, was pretty expensive because of, you know, the trickle down effect from the pandemic. You know, you had seafood, and then you had, sorry, it's my wife. Hey. Okay, sorry, she's wondering where I went. Sorry. Sorry about that. Back to the financial. Yeah, so it was a trickle down effect. You know, we have a lot of seafood at our restaurant. You know, shrimp was hard to catch. They didn't send people out there to catch shrimp. They didn't send farmers. The factory was shut down. beef, chicken, all that in the Midwest. The farms, shut down during the pandemic. It was hard to get beef. Beef was like tripled in price for a bit. And yeah, it was pretty tough. And there was a lot of 7 days, 15 hours a days. And I mean, we're still pulling 11-hour days still. So we're still hanging on right now. But we have the community to support us. We have you guys, Jeremy and Grace. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys so much. And yeah, the community really came out and supported us. That's really what helped us out through the pandemic.
Thank you, Eric. And we're with you, brother. We're with you and Jade Garden. Christy, same question. Racial during the pandemic, prior to the pandemic, however you want to answer that, and also financial.
Oh, we're in an interesting place because we have two businesses. I would say with that brown girl, catering is, I mean, there's catering out there for sure. And people are starting to come back and want to do different things. But because we had to lay off our entire staff, trying to build back up is extremely difficult. And so we've decided to kind of take the time that we needed. And the PPP definitely helped that, being able to take the time to rebuild, because we got to hire for all new positions. And when the pandemic started, we were okay because we pivoted into community kitchen, and so we were getting funding that way. So that helped a lot to keep everybody's jobs. That was just the main focus. If we could just pay bills and keep folks working, that was what we were trying to do. And so we were able to do that for a period of time. And then right before the restaurant opened, our leaseholder went out of business. And so we had to figure out what we were going to do. And I've closed down a business before, so I wasn't willing to close down again. And we assumed the lease on the building. So that's exciting. So, we're making it work. We're making it work. We have wonderful landlords, which is interesting because I didn't think they were so great. Now that I'm actually working with them, I'm like, oh, it wasn't you. But anyway, so we're figuring it out. But it is definitely dicey, and we're going to have to pivot to a whole nother situation to make it work, which is exciting in one way and then super difficult when you're opening a new restaurant. So, so yeah, that's kind of a work in progress. I would say that with the restaurant, if there was a good time to open up a restaurant with our mission, this was it. I think, it's a plethora of things. I see it's again, the neighborhood we're in, the building that we're in, the message that we bring, that really hits home for a lot of people right now, where like what Theo was saying, people want to come and support a Black business. That's been great. The funding that's gone forth has been, because it helped keep that brown girl stable, it helped keep the restaurant stable, kind of thing. So just like good timing, which is interesting. So I think, again, it's still a work in progress, right? We're still trying to figure it out, but I think because we're new, that is definitely helpful. Being in the forefront, getting a lot of media, all of that kind of stuff has been really, really helpful. And the restaurant's doing well. It really is. And I'm grateful, super grateful. And I don't take that for granted. And I think I did to a certain extent, just because I'm so driven that I don't really look to the side to see what's going on over there. I just try to keep focused, and that's great in one way. And then it kind of creates a space where your level of compassion doesn't grow as much as it does when you are looking around to see what's going on with other people. And so I feel like after our first shutdown because of COVID, one of our vendors got COVID right before we opened. Then we had to delay the opening. And then I started kind of getting, oh, okay, this is why people are not reopening right now. Like I literally just didn't get it. I was just like, just keep going, you know, and those ideas around like, you know, pull up your bootstraps and all that kind of stuff can work in some situations sometimes, but the truth of the matter is that there's so many other things that influence, you know, your ability to move that doesn't always work out so well. And so, you know, I really think I gained a different layer of compassion and sympathy throughout that process for other folks that still haven't reopened, especially downtown. And just balancing that out and doing what we can to support. We've created a lot of great relationships within this time period through the community kitchen, and then just with other folks welcome us into this sector of the industry, where we try to find ways to support one another, and it seems to be working.
Thank you, Christy. Yeah, and it was nice over this last year to support that Brown Girl Cooks through the Community Kitchens program that's doing a lot of great ways of feeding people across the city. Thank you, Christy. Theo, same question for you. You could take it either way. You can try and answer both. I know it's a short amount of time, but you know, in terms of racially, your experience as a business owner and or financial obstacles you've had to overcome.
Well, Eric and Christy, everyone kind of touched on how the pandemic changed the way we did business. You know, we have definitely learned a whole lot in the last year. You know, we just went out and invested in a new truck for catering. We had all these caterings lined up. We were excited about the new year about to happen. Of course, the pandemic hit and it changed everything. I got a brand new van that's parked at a parking lot right now. But what we have also had a chance to learn was, you know, the give back program. And I say the word give back. We have, when the pandemic hit, we didn't know where we were going and how we were going to get there. We just knew we wanted to keep our doors open, but it was at the beginning, you know, no one could eat inside. It was all takeout. So it was kind of relearning. It felt like we started all over again, and we did. You know, yeah, all the different services for pickup, Ubers and Grubhubs, and all these different ways of, you know, trying to get your food out the door. So it was interesting. And then, you know, working with other people of the community, nonprofit, you know, trying to work out how to still get your food out the door, and getting more creative. You know, I worked with more nonprofit over the last year who kept my doors open, because we had a chance to team up with Columbia Bank. We had a chance to team up with Microsoft, Boeing. We reached out, we found a nonprofit. We talked to, say, Columbia Bank and said, if we could get money from you, we'll pass it on to them. And when we started with Columbia Bank, we started getting more phone calls of other businesses, like I said, Microsoft, Amazon, and we said, hey, we'll find a nonprofit. If you give us the money, we'll pass it on to them. And it started a new business, and we found ourselves doing almost 6 days a week. We were doing catering again, and some of them were up to 50 to 80 people at a time. But like Eric said, we had to individually pack everything in boxes because there's no longer buffet style. But it was definitely a new business that we weren't aware of. We did do a lot of reach out and a lot of community-based events, but we never did anything that was as large as what was going on for the last year. I mean, it was keeping our doors open. But over the time, we started getting creative. You know, we put I got approved to put a tent in front of the restaurant. And when I say tent, it was a tent. It was a 10 by 40. So it was 2 10 by 20 tents that we put together. It was most interesting thing when, you know, getting people to come back and eat and dine, as we say, dine out. We got to the point our business started to, once we put the tent out, we couldn't keep people out the tent. I mean, when I say that's positive, it was just staying busy. And we end up getting rid of Uber Eats and DoorDash and all the different services. Didn't work good for us. Some people do well with it. For us, it didn't do well. We was unfortunately getting, as I say, more chargebacks than we were sales. People would get their food and say it was cold or whatever reasons. Oxtails wasn't full. I mean, it was just interesting, but we did it for 1 month. After that, we dropped it. We had the tent put out. It got busy. We have nano windows that open up. So during the winter time, you were able to come inside when we had to 25%, and then eventually went to 50%. So we had people come in, and then since then, business, it kept getting busier and busier, till the point it was a blessing. We were always busy, even though you were at 25 or 50%. It pretty much, people would wait 30, 40 minutes to sit down. And then if you go by the restaurant now, we tore the tent down because we went through about 7 of them. The rain, the snow, the wind, somebody caught it on fire. The tent's gone now. We don't miss the tent, but now we put a patio outside. So if you drive through other communities, Ballard, Fremont, Edmonds, everyone has kind of a structure outside. So we actually built the structure as of last week. This is our 1 week today. From last Sunday, we tore it down, and by this whole past week, that outside deck has been, even people at other restaurants now they'll go buy food at other restaurants. We have to keep them off our deck, saying it's just for Island Soul because they want to sit at our deck, which is cool, but we want them to eat at our restaurant too. But we have definitely, say, in the last almost 3 months, business has people, the shots, the weather, people's attitude, they're ready to get out. We have definitely been real blessed to say we're running out of food again. We forgot how that was like, to have 4 cases of collard greens, gone in 2 days, something that we haven't seen that since prior to the pandemic. So we're starting to see a change. I see people coming out. We're seeing we always had a good support from the community. So we kept ourselves, like I said, the doors open, but now we might be able to see a little more profit. We had a chance. We were real blessed to get the PPP both times, an SBA loan. I think there's another one coming out again. It allowed us to remodel the whole inside of the restaurant. We remodeled everything, even down to the plumbing and electrical. So we've been putting the money back into the business, changing our approach on how we promote. It's been just, for us, it's been a roller coaster, but we're still on it. We're still riding it. We're not ever going to stop. And we just keep reaching out, and people keep supporting us. So I know it's tough. When speaking of Erica, down in the international district, I love go down there as often as I can. I used to go down there a lot, like everyone else, and it's slowed down for the pandemic because we found ourselves working more hours, like you said, 11, 14-hour days. You find yourself doing extra things to make the day go by, because you can't bring on a lot of people. I'm short 5 people right now. I think all of us got it. I see Christy too. We got ads looking for people. So we know things are changing, but it's a different market. We're blessed to have another business, my wife and I, and an employment agency out in Kent for the last 22 years. We can't find enough people to go to work anymore. The market has changed, but in the restaurant business, we're happy to say people still got to eat, so, and they've been really coming out to support. So, we want to grow. We kind of feel that this is going to be a great year this year. The support that we're getting from you guys and everyone in the community, it's definitely going to be a better year. I try to look at everything that it's like they say, the glass is either half full or half empty. I always want to kind of keep myself it's always full. And I just got to make sure the water keeps filling up the glass, because there's nothing I could do but pray and work. You know, that's all that's in my blood. So it's going to turn around. I think all of us that are in this business of the restaurants, that, as Chrissy said, they're closing down. You know, I have a bakery next to me who only works 2 days a week, and they do only online orders that people come pick up. You know, we always talk about, aren't you going to open up? And he's not there. You know, all his bakers, everyone he had working for him, he called them all back, and only one came back. So he can't even open his business. So it's definitely been a challenge for a lot of restaurants out there. And, you know, El Sombrero, if you ever heard, a restaurant across the street from me, is closed forever. You know, they sold. I mean, it's just, you know, just kind of, I go around rookies, not rookies, but they're just, even in my communities, there's restaurants that are, it's challenging, you know, Lottie's, I can just go down, you know, it's to be open in Columbia City right now. And to see people come in, it's good, but I wish all my restaurants in the area or around Seattle, I'm sad that we're closing more than opening. So it's been challenging. I guess I'd say that, you know.
Yeah. Thank you, Theo. Drew, I know you got a last question for us, and I'd love to, if our guests want to have a question or a comment for us as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I'll ask this just generally, if anyone wants to, if any of the three of you want to chime in, it doesn't have to be round robin like we have. So our church, Grace, it's always been a part of our DNA to pray for the city, to love the city. But I feel like this pandemic has really motivated us to make that practical, to make it real. And largely under the leadership of Pastor Jason, we've tried a bunch of different things, and it's been an improv year like it has been for all of us in so many ways. But you know, you all have participated and partnered with us in some manner over this last year, and I want to give you all an opportunity to weigh in for us. If you have any ideas of how we can be a better neighbor as a church in our community, it's our desire to just as a community work for the common good of Seattle, and to partner with other people who are about that same purpose in different ways in the city. So I'd love to hear if any of you have any thoughts about that.
That's a good call. I have been real, you know, working with you guys. That support, you guys reached out to me in the beginning of the pandemic, you know, to get support from our neighbors, you know, from other nonprofit, profit, you know, when you reach out to us and you give us the opportunity to serve you, and you keep coming back and asking. I think at one time when Columbia Bank gave me the money, I came back to you guys and said, hey, we have some money. Would you guys have anything that we could donate back to you guys? It's the fellowship, the friendship, the business relationship. You know, we have to have it. It should go on for the rest of our lives. Like I said, we're building lifetime relationships. You know, we don't want this to stop. You know, we're talking about this a few days ago with our crew, and how we want to keep doing what we have done through this pandemic. We don't want to all of a sudden forget those who helped us. And, you know, you guys have done a good part, at least for me. I probably could name 6, 7, 8, 9 times that we've seen like we've done something with the church, and it's been I'm hands are out again. I'm ready, you know. Call me anytime. You know, so I think that's something that I don't think is going to go away. I would love to see more of other businesses like yours, or I guess it's a church, but you know, reach back to a small business. And I love it when they ask, how are you guys doing? What can we do? You know, there's some places I lost contact with. They don't have that they didn't have that love. I lost actually a couple vendors over this event, because when I asked them to do me a favor and they said no, then I knew that during this tough time, if you can't work with me, I can't work with you. And then you start finding the other side, that you find people who really stood by you and supported, and you just gravitate to what keeps the door open and your family fed. We got bills too, right? So yeah, it's just been for us, Island. So I can see that we have made some new friends in this crazy times, and it really strengthens the one that we had.
Yeah, sorry, I don't want to cut you off. I know we only have a couple minutes, but no, thank you,
Yes.
sir. I don't know if Christy or Eric wanted to respond to Drew's question.
It's almost 10.
You don't have to respond to Drew's question.
Oh, well, I'll go ahead. I just want to say thank you to you guys, especially Jeremy and Grace Church, to you guys. I mean, I think Theo hit it spot on. We're a small business. We're a mom and pop shop, kind of thing. To have you guys continually support us, we're humbled by it, and it means a lot to us, And just like Theo said, it wasn't just one time. You guys kept coming back. Jeremy kept coming back. Jeremy kept texting me, and look, every time you text me, it's a blessing. Thank you, and we love to serve you guys and what you guys are doing to the community too, and what you guys stand for. Like, I really appreciate you guys a lot, and like, it should be the other way around. Like, what can I do for you guys to improve our orders for you guys? Because you guys continually support us, and throughout this pandemic, like Theo said, you helped us a lot, and what can we do to help you guys too in return, and when you guys reached out to me to hop on to this interview, I said no question yes, even though I work 7 days a week. I'm at outside my front of my restaurant, and I had to be here. I love you guys. Thank you for your support, guys, especially you guys. Thank you.
Oh, man, shoot, Eric, you making my brown skin blush over here. We're trying to ask, how can we help you better? So I'll come over and toss some noodles or something in the kitchen.
No. Continue support, man.
Christy. I see you shaking your head at me, Christy.
Yeah, you just go buy some food. No. I just want to say, like, one of the things that I'm with the as far as just like the community kitchen aspect, really got a chance to create a lot of new partnerships, and such a blessing. And like he said, that problem is not going anywhere. It didn't start with the pandemic. It's not gonna end with the pandemic. People needing access to food. And so I'm definitely in that process right now, figuring out how to make that sustainable, because our location particularly is in a crossroads of a lot, talk about development and stuff like that, just around where the kitchen is, it's real crazy. And there's a lot of transient folks that are being displaced from their temporary housing solutions. And so we're in the midst of that and want to be an answer for that, and are looking for ways to fund that, looking for ways to be able to make some real change. So we're definitely open. If there's anyone that knows about funding for particular efforts like that, would definitely be willing to talk. But yeah, that's our plan, is to keep going in that direction, because it's where we live. We got to be an answer to where we live. And I think that's important.
Thank you, Christy. Well, yeah, we would be very interested in seeing how we could partner to support community kitchens further. We have to close. I know Drew has a quick final word, some logistical things, but I want to say thank you to Theo Martin, to Eric Chan, to Christy Brown. Everyone, give a round of applause to our guests. Please go down and support these businesses. I know, Grace, we will be coming by to give a large gift to each of your restaurants for your time. I don't know what else to say. Their food is tasty. I'm starving. You guys go join me in supporting and buy some food and support these businesses and their neighbors. So thank you, the three of you. We will continue to be praying for you and for your neighborhoods. Drew, did you have some final things?
Sure, and I just want to follow up and also say thank you for your honesty, for showing up here. It is just really great to hear your stories and to deepen our relationships.
And thanks to Jeremy too. Jeremy's been holding it down. So thank you to Jeremy for all your work and helping us partner.
Yes, indeed. So a few details before we close for today. The next 3 sessions for this class, we meet every 2 weeks, as you know. So May 9th, 2 weeks from today, we're gonna have another in our final class focused on partnerships. We'll be meeting with folks from Sickle Cell Task Force and REST. And then starting on May 23rd and then the following 2 weeks, June 6th, we're going to be hearing from members of our pastoral care team talking about kind of summarizing this whole year and all of our studies and what each of these eight members of our pastoral care staff have learned and what their hopes are for the future of our church on matters of race. So do tune in for those weeks, May 9th, May 23rd, and June 6th. And the last thing I want to mention is that in the session, we have decided moving forward as a church to keep these conversations going. We want to begin a committee at Grace to move forward conversations about equity and social justice in our church. So if that's something that you might be interested in, reach out to me by email, and I'll keep bringing this up in the last few classes, but that is a new initiative we're gonna begin moving forward to make all this conversation not stop with this class this year. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I hope you have a blessed Sunday.